Hey, so quick question. Are you familiar with the phrase, this thing that I got bullied for in grade school is now incredibly popular? If you answered yes, congratulations! And also, I am incredibly sorry.
Da 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 da. It's time for Kaylee's Chats.
There is a common cycle of media types that are divergent to the status quo, raging in popularity seemingly overnight and completely at random. Some say that this is due to individuality rising as a hot commodity. Several former weird kids, such as myself, express frustration that shows and movies and games and things of that nature that were once considered weird are now considered the new norm. I think the most recent example that I can give of this was during my time in high school. When I was in high school, I liked to wear bows. I thought they were cute. I thought they made me look all girly and feminine, and I would wear one pretty much every day. And I would be lying if I said I didn't catch any weird looks whenever I did wear one. And a lot of my classmates used to call me childish for it, which is insane because I was literally a child, and so were they. The crazy thing is that if I were to go back to my alma mater right here, right now, today, I would more than likely see like over 15 bows within my first minute of being there. Same thing goes for me liking pink. I loved pink. I've loved pink pretty much my entire life, and I made it part of my personality. I wore pink clothes, I had pink backpacks, I had pink. Got made fun of for that too. And those interactions just left me scratching my head because why do you not like me because I have a passion for a certain color? And then a year later, maybe even a little less than that, all I see is pink. More notably from the same people that used to rip on me for liking pink too much. And then I got to thinking, people don't actually want you to be yourself. But we're gonna get into that conversation later. Trust me, we are. It's one thing for people to start liking something after they've expressed disinterest in said thing. And then it's another thing entirely for them to start liking that thing when they know good and well that they made fun of people for liking it first. And then they add salt in the wound because they insist that they were fans of whatever it is they're fans of the entire time. So this begs the question, why does this happen? We're gonna go ahead and get the most obvious answer out of the way. People like to follow trends. Trends are widely regarded as collective movements. And although it may seem like trends pop out of nowhere, trust me, there is a process involved where it goes from one tiny particle of sand to an entire beach. It can start as small as one individual girl wearing a jean miniskirt and boots, and then another girl wears it. And then another girl wears it, and then another, and then another, and then another. And before you know it, jean skirts and boots are the quintessential fall style. Sometimes trends are encouraged from the jump, meaning that they have no pushback when they finally get big. But then this isn't always the case because there are other times where trends take a little bit longer to take off. And I think this seems to be the case most of the time. Okay, so let's establish why people follow trends. Simple. People crave for a sense of belonging. And what better way to find that than to follow a trend that everyone else is following? This is most commonly known as the bandwagon effect. This is the adaptation of certain behaviors and interests in order to fit in with others. Everyone else is doing it, so why shouldn't I? There is a certain power behind using the first person plural. What are we wearing this summer? What skincare are we buying? What music are we listening to? Using that magic we word creates an illusion of community when really it just unintentionally promotes conformity. We're also going to touch on that a little bit later, so put a pin in that as well. Anyway, back to bandwagoning. I understand that this isn't always true. There is a difference between liking something because it is popular and liking something that just so happens to be popular. And let me tell you, it is painfully easy to tell the difference. Here's a relevant example. The New York Knicks. You might have seen those videos on TikTok where the streets of New York are overrun by Knicks fans. Most of the people in those videos may actually be diehard Knicks fans, sure, but you cannot tell me that it is not at least a little bit plausible that a fraction of the people in those crowds are not real fans. And again, I have to emphasize fraction because it is probably such a small group of people. But when you add a camera, bright lights, a microphone, and cheering and yelling into the equation, it's not ridiculous to say that some people may take on the persona of a Knicks fan. Validation, exposure, community, that is how you tell the difference. Bandwagoning mostly occurs when there's something offered to you in joining XYZ trend. You're not buying the tankini because you like how it looks. You're buying it because one of your favorite influencers wore one and you want to be able to say you wore the viral tankini. You don't get the triple dipper from Chili's because you love how it tastes. You get it because then you can record yourself doing a cheese pull with the hot moss sticks and go viral on the internet. You don't watch anime because you find it compelling and interesting. You watch it because your friend group watches it and you know that watching it yourself will integrate you into the hangouts better. You get what I'm saying? And before anybody tries to put words in my mouth, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. No, I am not saying that everyone who likes stuff that is popular is only doing it because it's popular or because they want clout or whatever. There are people who take genuine interest in tankinis, triple dippers, and anime. You're looking at one right now. I am not talking about those people. Okay, so we've discussed how different trends reflect ulterior motives and the need for community. But earlier, we also talked about how individuality is on the rise. So how can people love trends so much if there's a growing need for individuality? I'm gonna go ahead and have some interaction with you guys really quickly. Okay, ready? Raise your hand if you are the exact same way now as you were in high school or middle school. If your hand is up, quit being a liar. The need for social belonging and proper social integration is already intense with human beings, but then when you add social media into the conversation, it becomes twice as intense. Past generations had sitcoms and weekend cartoons to teach them the importance of standing out and not trying to fit in. Cautionary tale after cautionary tale forbade us of falling into these habits, some even showing real-life strenuous consequences. Whereas now, being yourself is a fluke. Something that sounds nice in theory, but isn't practiced in the real world. Weird kids in high school and middle school were the goats, alright? We saw through all that. The weird kids, they were the ones that were pulling up to fourth period with creeper backpacks and Hello Kitty Chromebook chargers and whatever. They were the ones that were role-playing during lunch with a group of their friends and bringing Pokemon cards to field day while everybody else was under the rainbow-colored parachute. And if we're following this mantra of be yourself that modern media tries to push to its audience, that unashamed display of nerdism that the weird kids would show in high school and middle school should have earned them respect, when in reality they got the exact opposite. Many creators and internet personalities are spoon-fed lies of unconditional acceptance and regurgitate them onto cameras and into phone screens. And we eat it up, thinking that the influencers mean it and thinking that we ourselves believe it too. In the same way that bandwagoning reveals the subconscious need for community, it also reveals the need to establish an in-group and an out-group. Most people who bandwagon sacrifice personal identity for safety. They watch X show or watch X game or just consume any sort of popular media because it would be better to engage in that content and not enjoy it than it would be to be themselves and be bullied for it. And bullied is a very harsh word, I do understand, but I cannot think of any other word for it than bullying. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. Teens whose brains aren't fully developed are more inclined to fall into this trap because social interactions in the age of screens and phones and technology, more pointedly social media, is made nearly impossible. So then what happens when those kids graduate? One of two things happens usually. They either shut down completely, totally intimidated by the idea of becoming their own self, or they cling so tightly onto their philosophy of social integration at the expense of personal identity, and they trend hop into one big circle. Now that you've graduated from the group that likes Taylor Swift, Alani, and Love Island, you've suddenly found yourself drawn to the crowd online that likes Jujutsu Kaisen, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Mitsuki? Computer, calculate this for me because I'm having some trouble. The trend hopping is so intense that when they jump from bandwagon to bandwagon, it's so jarring that they're under the impression that this sudden shift from interest to interest is all in their own volition. And really it's not. I think the key thing to remember here is that everybody wants to be an individual, but nobody wants to be an outlier. So when there are too many people taking up a fandom space of media that was once considered niche, all of the trend hoppers leave and find the next fandom to feed off of. And then the ones who continue their activity in the fandom spaces that they leave are ridiculed. Oh my gosh, you're still on that? No, that was popular like 3 weeks ago, but we've all moved on from that, girl. Where have you been? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that interest had an expiration date. So yeah, the cycle goes a little bit something like this, alright? Weird, popular, outdated, right back to weird. Thing starts off as weird, It grows traction online and gains popularity. There's too many people occupying this fandom, so we're gonna leave. Then it becomes outdated. Why are people still enjoying this thing? It's outdated. Now it's weird. It's one big triangle. And also, this is not totally related to what we're talking about directly, but it is in relation, and I feel like it's worth mentioning. There are a lot of people online criticizing others of LARPing their favorite fandom spaces, like their favorite TV shows and movies and whatnot. And it's like, I don't think you guys know what LARPing is. LARPing quite literally stands for live action role playing, which refers to things like cosplay or live reenactments of scenes. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you guys are referring to, which is being a fake fan, or a poser, if you want to call it that too. But LARPing does not mean fake fan. That's just fake fan. If you're gonna call somebody a fake fan, call them a fake fan. Usually, I don't really care. It's one of those situations where multiple people are giving the word the incorrect meaning, so then that word takes on that meaning. And it's like, fine, if you guys want to call it that, I guess, man, but I really just need you guys to know that that's not the word that you're looking for. Like, usually I don't care when people do that because that's their prerogative. I don't care if you want to use a word incorrectly. But also I do care because you're using the word incorrectly. I'm getting sidetracked. We'll move on. So what's the bandage, right? How do we prevent this from happening to multiple fandom spaces at a time? How do we slow down trend hopping? I have a solution, and you guys are not gonna like it. Bring back gatekeeping. I'm being so serious. Please bring it back. I'm usually not big on gatekeeping because I'm a firm believer in sharing your interests and passions with other people so they can also feel the joy that you've experienced from those passions. And I also feel like there should be a softer word for it. But I mean, the only way to save yourself the disappointment from other people when they make fun of you for the things that you like, and then the subsequent anger when they turn around and claim that they've liked that thing all along, is to just not tell them. The best analogy that I can give for it is this, right? You are in possession of a family heirloom. It is incredibly precious to you, incredibly precious to your family. It makes you happy, you want to care for it, and you want to treat it with respect. Someone who is known for being reckless, unkind, and forgetful offers to watch over your possession while you are gone. You are 100% within your right to tell them no. The only reason why you would say yes is because it's the polite thing to do, right? It's considered rude to decline an extended hand that is offered to you, no matter the qualifications or the reputation behind the person giving you that hand. And in a perfect world, people would understand that it's not exactly rude to do this. It's responsible. It would be responsible to not leave your prized possessions in uncaring hands. It's prioritizing the well-being and structure of your heirloom. Exact same rules apply to interests. Obviously, it's nice to share interests with your friends, but it's also totally fair to keep some of your interests away, especially if you have a pretty accurate inkling of how they're going to respond. Me personally, I was blessed with many friends. I love my friends so dearly, love each and every one of them. However, I have categorized my friends in my brain and I've placed them in subgroups, right? There's one subgroup that is familiar with fandom culture and fandom spaces and can act accordingly in them. And then there's a subgroup of friends that cannot and do not. Those who interact with fandoms well and have a lesser chance of ridiculing me for the things that I like have access to my info dumps and my rants. And then the friends that don't. That's not to say that I don't love some of my friends or that I favor some over others, but it is to say that it's a boundary that I've set in order to keep my mentality correct. Because there have been many times where I trusted the wrong people with my interests and I shared them so passionately and I was laughed at. Things like that are just considered teasing and they're written off as unimportant, but the times where I was laughed at by people who I trusted to share my interests with, those times really hurt me. They really did hurt my feelings. I hate using this phrase, but me keeping my interests away from certain friends is protecting my peace. It's me setting a boundary. And if you set that boundary with more people, they're a lot less likely to become trend hoppers. That is how you onset originality. That is how you onset authenticity. If the connection to anything that they like is authentic enough, then they'll do their own deep dive. They'll scout out pieces of this media on their own and fall in love with it on their own, just like I did. I feel like that process is a lot more beautiful when it is authentic. Falling in love with a piece of media or a show or a movie that gives you comfort is one of the warmest things that you can feel as a human being. And that experience is watered down immensely when all of these trends pop up and these trend hoppers just feed off of it. You're missing out on the warm, bubbly feeling that you get when you watch these shows or you play these video games and you get excited. Like, it's really just taking the fun out of it. Anyway, I say all of this to say that gatekeeping is a system that works. Although it is a system that may backfire socially, it is a system that works generally. But also other things may work better, so take that as you will. I won't be hypocritical here. I will be the first to admit that some of the interests that I have now were interests that I hated then. I think K-pop is the biggest example that I have of this. Like, y'all, I used to hate K-pop. Like, I did not like it at all. And then I found the girl groups that interest me. I found the songs that interest me. And I listened to it more and more and more and gave it more and more chances authentically without the inspiration of other people. And before you know it, I got a K-pop playlist with 400 songs and counting on it. I don't know how that happened. That was my surprise, but it's here. I don't want to blame trend hoppers and completely write them off as bad people, because they're not bad people. They are misguided. They want community. They want to fit in and they don't want to be an outlier. All of those are completely valid feelings, especially in the generation that we're in now where isolation seems to be the default. However, it is not okay to ridicule people who are outside of that circle. The fact that you want community and a group of like-minded people to associate yourself with does not absolve you of the right to be kind. So please, 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 when people are telling you the different types of media that they like, please don't laugh. Don't call them weird. Don't call the thing weird. Don't call them mean names. And if you're gonna do that, for the love of all that is sweet and holy, please don't turn around and like that thing, because that's gonna make it 10 times worse. That's adding insult to injury. And if you do find yourself liking something that you at one point didn't like, acknowledge that. That is authenticity, not whatever these trend hoppers got going on right now. If you guys enjoyed our chat, please be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe. You guys, take it from me, if you subscribe, you won't regret it. I may be up and coming, but that just means I'm hungry for it. Just give me a shot and you won't regret it. And also, please be sure to hit that bell so you can be notified of recent uploads. Love you, mean it. Thank you. Bye.